I read the China press every day for a year, and here's what I found. Number one, it's surprisingly friendly towards America. The China Daily is full of articles about China-US friendship groups. And look, in this issue, the front page lead is Xi Jinping's long-standing personal love fest with a true American family in the US state of Iowa. Now, can you imagine a piece in any Western media outlet celebrating friendship between Joe Biden and citizens of Moscow? Just couldn't happen, right? Number two, the People's Daily, perhaps surprisingly, is often very cool, especially with their video news streams. Like this one. Here's a clip of a Chinese businessman getting to work on his electric surfboard, as one does. Now, the Chinese invented TikTok, of course, and seem to have a good talent with short, sharp movies. Number three, the most common front page topic in the China Daily is China making friendships and trade deals with other countries, often nations in Africa or Asia or Latin America. You know, when I worked in the Western mainstream press, there'd be no way on earth that African countries, for example, would be on the front page, unless there's some sort of war or disaster there. The Chinese are being smart here. Asia and Africa already make up 76% of humanity. That's 3 out of 4 human beings. And they're having lots of babies, so that proportion won't go down. Number 4, the Chinese press prints voices you don't hear in the West, and this can be incredibly valuable. So, for example, the single best article on Hong Kong written this year by far was this letter from a Hong Kong lawyer named Grenville Cross to British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, printed in the China Daily. If you want the real news about Hong Kong, this is essential reading, and you won't read it elsewhere. Number 5, the Western media is far superior to the Chinese media when it comes to things like investigative reporting. You know, they've been doing it for years, they have big budgets, big teams. But China is slowly catching up. There was a report in the China Daily recently on the scandalous corruption of the ticketing agencies in China. Now, that's good to see. They're also getting quite good at infographics too, and even cartoons. Number 6, a typical headline on an inside page in the China Daily will be something like, you know, the Farmers Union yesterday reported a 2% downturn in productivity. Not very exciting, but it's accurate, it's trustworthy. Reporters in China have to get these things right. Now, in the Western press, you too often see things that are just plain wrong. That's because the motivation is different. The motivation is not to share accurate data. The motivation is to get clicks. The motivation is to push an agenda. Number 7, in the opinion pages of Chinese newspapers, there's often criticism of what they see as the West's unfair treatment of China. And it's often written in a rather bumptious tone, angry officials blowing their tops. But here's the thing, you find those articles on their opinion pages. In the Western media, extremely hostile opinions about China are embedded in the majority of news reports. They're woven into the fabric of the writing. Now that is a huge difference. Number 8 is a related point. The Chinese press doesn't over-politicize everything in the way that the Western press likes to do. Let me give an example. If the New York Times does a piece on a musician or writer or filmmaker in China, the piece will be politicized. It will be written in a way to show that the West has freedom, unlike those poor schmucks in Asia. In contrast, the Chinese press plays it straight. For example, here's a piece on Taylor Swift fandom in China, saying how much they love her. And it lacks the West is best subtext that Western correspondents feel obliged to put into every article on China. Number 9, reading the Chinese press lifts you out of your preconceptions. For example, think about what the phrase Communist Party member means in the West, and then read about actual socialists in China, like this teacher, aged 95, who was given free education to 2,000 rural children. He loved his job and refused to retire. I like this piece so much that I celebrated the guy in the Friday Everyday website. Number 10, China's a really big and underreported place, so it's full of stories that are genuinely interesting and offbeat. So, for example, explorers in China found a lost world, a massive rainforest inside a huge sinkhole, inaccessible to humans for thousands or tens of thousands of years. Or look at this article, the bones of a giant ape were found in a cave in China. And so on. There are hundreds of fascinating stories like that which are underreported. Now, the Asian press has a long way to go before it can dislodge the Western press's stranglehold on international news. But rest assured, we're working on it. Some of you already know my motto: the grasshoppers are big, but there are more of us ants. Peace.